John, good to see you. A very important question today. What happens if you die without a will? Despite potentially devastating consequences, 54% of Americans don't have a will, leaving estate planning up to a complicated range of state laws. So, who even needs a will? Because I think a lot of us assume it's for the very wealthy, but even 1 in 5 Americans with a million or more doesn't have a will.
Really, Aaron, anyone who has a significant amount of property should, and that here in California can simply even be, a townhome or a house.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna take it one step further. Wills are good to have, but you want to pour over a will that goes into a living trust. And I'm really gonna pounce on the living trust part because a will still puts you into probate, and your affairs are public. If you don't have a will, that's even worse because you're intestate, and that means the government, who knows nothing about your wishes, knows nothing about your family dynamics, knows nothing about you, is making all the determinations as to where your assets and money are going to go. So
Hmm.
have a will, but even more importantly, have a trust, because that's going to give you more control and it's going to keep your affairs private, keep you out of probate.
I love how passionate you are about this, John. We can all tell. Now, if you die without a will, your loved ones may get nothing, especially if they are an unmarried partner or stepchildren who are left out under the law in almost every scenario.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to what we said, that the government, who knows nothing about you, is going to determine where everything you've worked so hard for. And if you're like me, and I know you're the same way, and you want to leave your possessions to the people you love and the
Right?
people who will appreciate it. So you have to have these documents in place because, again, if you're interstate, that means the government's deciding who's getting what. And like you said, there's been plenty of times where the right people have been cut out, because it didn't fit what the government decided.
Right, under the letter of the law, which brings us to our tips that you have for people, John. And the first tip is to know your state's law. This is especially true in California.
Yeah. Know your state's laws and know your state's probate costs, because in
Hmm.
California, I've heard it's about 4 to 5% of your estate. So you do the math. I mean, a $500,000 home is, you could get that no problem here in California. That's going to be upwards over $20,000 in probate costs.
Yikes.
That's money that is, instead of going to your family, it's going to the courts and attorneys. So
Hmm.
know the state's laws, know their estate tax laws, know their probate fees.
Hmm. And next, make sure all your assets are covered.
Yes, make sure your house is, again, we're going beyond the will into the trust. Make sure your house is titled in the trust. If you have those qualified retirement accounts, yeah, you may not need a will there. Make sure your beneficiary documents are complete, they're accurate, and they're up to date. Check them annually, because
Hmm.
those are actually the most important estate
Hmm.
planning documents.
And last, don't delay. I think a lot of us do hesitate, though, because this can bring up some complex family dynamics.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the biggest thing. Everyone says,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got to always do my trust. I got to do my trust." Not only does it bring up interesting family dynamics, but let's be honest, death, it's morbid. No one wants
Right.
to think about dying,
Hmm.
and what life is going to be like that for your possessions and your beneficiaries after that. However, we know two things are certain, Aaron:
Death and
death
taxes.
and taxes, right? And if you don't plan for your death, guess what you're going to pay more in? Taxes.
Taxes.
So, don't procrastinate. It's just one of those things where it's the elephant in the room. You take it one bite at a time, but you have to get the process started. And we talk about just the death conversation, Aaron. There's so much more to estate planning than just death. Again, harping on the fact that the trust versus a will is actually needed more. There's a lot of important living documents within a trust: the power of
Hmm.
attorney, the healthcare directive, those important decisions that you're making if you're incapacitated and you're not putting that stress on your children or loved ones.
Which is the last thing people want to do. You're right. It's always about the family too. Well said, John.
Yeah.
If somebody has questions about, a will or an estate plan, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we always encourage people to visit our website, www.gosecurus.com. We have a slew of resources throughout our website for you. And while you're on our website, you can go over to the Contact Us tab, and click on the schedule appointment. And there you can either make a 15-minute phone call to answer any questions or a complimentary vision and clarity consultation with us. Or you can do it the old way. Give us a call at the office, 858-935-6210. Ask to speak with Emily Whale, and she will get you all set up.
All right, John, thank you.
Thank you, Erin.